Hey, what's up guys? I'm Rachel from Raechal Woodworks.
And I'm Tori with Promise Epoxy, and today we are here in the Kalamazoo manufacturing facility here in Michigan. And we're actually going to make some of these floral resin trays today with tabletop epoxy, but let's go grab some off the rack and get started.
All right.
So when we say made in the USA, we actually mean made here in Kalamazoo, Michigan. We're here in our bottling and manufacturing facility, and this is what we need. So if you grab two of those, I'll grab two, and we'll get started.
All right. My name is Raechal Petrus with Raechal's Woodworks and Makers Challenge Central. I am from Fort Worth, Texas, and I started working in woodworking, DIY, and all of that good stuff in 2016. What got me into the woodworking world really was Pinterest. I was looking at furniture inspiration and noticed that there was free build plans available. When I first started incorporating resin into my woodworking, it was absolutely terrifying. I had seen other woodworkers do it and really wanted to try it. For me, I started big. The first time I tried resin, it was a faux stone console table, and that was adventurous. Naively, I didn't realize that. Going big is not necessarily the bad way to go for your first try. I was posting to my personal Instagram and sharing with my friends, and I started a secret Instagram account, started posting my furniture. When the first 100 people started looking at me, I thought, okay, this is weird, but cool. And then it just grew and grew and grew and turned into this incredible community of like-minded people that all support each other. It's pretty amazing. The floral resin tray is like one of my favorite things to make because it's a really beginner kind of a project, but it has such intricate details in the finish that you wouldn't know it's a beginner project. I got us some dried flowers off of Amazon, but you can also dry your own flowers and press your own flowers. You want to make sure that there is absolutely no moisture. If there's any moisture, you will not get the right results. I've got some glitter that we're gonna finish it with, and I picked up these trays also from Amazon.
So for something like this, tabletop is perfect. It's super user-friendly. You get that high gloss shine, and it's just fun.
I have done some measuring, and it's usually like right about 4 ounces, but to be safe, let's go ahead and pour 6. And I have this cutie mold, so if there's anything left over, don't waste your resin. Pour it, and then you have something fun for later.
So normally we recommend wear a respirator, make sure it's for vapors and not dust.
Good point.
But we're here again like in our testing facility, so it's a very large area. It's very well ventilated, so we don't necessarily need that for this specific location. But if that's not your location, then please wear one. Protect yourself, protect your surface. Everybody will be much happier for it.
Even though these are labeled A and B, which would let me assume that we're going to pour A first and then B,
right?
We're going to switch it up.
Raechal's pouring B first because it's a much lower viscosity, so it's thinner. It pours more like water, if you will. And she's doing B first because then when she pours the A, that higher viscosity fluid in there, it's going to really settle into part B, and it just helps mix a little bit better.
If you're unsure of what your stir time should be, what you can do is actually just pour a small amount into a medicine cup and really just play with that. Don't pour it, stir it, pick up your stick, see what's happening to it. And that really will help you know how long you have to stir and work with that product.
So your work time or your open time, it's going to be about, I would say 30 to 45 minutes before it's going to start to cure. If it's a much colder environment, your work time is going to be, quite a bit shorter. So we do recommend keeping your wood shop, workshop, wherever you're working at about 70 to 75 degrees if you can, degrees Fahrenheit if you can.
You want to make sure that you are thoroughly mixing your epoxy because that will have a major factor on your outcome. If I'm a first-time epoxy user, I'm looking at these bubbles and I might be panicking here. Should I? Like, what's going to happen when we pour?
Those bubbles will come up a little bit, and we're also going to apply some heat, and that's going to pop them right away as well. If you are in a cooler environment and you see a lot of bubbles popping up, I would actually put either your bottles themselves, like these guys, in a warm water bath, or put your cup as you're mixing it in a warm water bath, and that will just kind of help the process along too a little bit.
Okay, so now that we've got everything mixed, what you want to do with your jewelry tray is you're going to give just enough that it coats the bottom of your dish right here. So we're not looking to fill this up. We're looking to just hit around our little edges here, and then the top right here.
Make sure your surface is level. If you have an uneven surface, it's not going to really settle properly. You're going to have one end of the tray be quite thicker than the other, and it's just going to look weird.
We've got our base here, and there is some bubbles. If I were to just put my dried flowers on right now, I will actually trap those bubbles, and we don't want to do that. I have a little craft heat gun. I'm not looking to move the resin. We just want to dissipate those bubbles before we lay the dried flowers. If you do use a blowtorch, you want to make sure and not actually torch the edges of your mold. Your mold basically will melt into that resin and it will stick. And I've had this happen to me before where I've gone to demold and the mold actually sticks to the resin, and that's it. That mold then becomes unreusable. Really stick right to the middle and try to avoid the edges of your mold. So the next thing that we're going to do is lay our dried flowers. And what's really important to remember about this mold is actually upside down. So if I were to take my dried flowers and lay them as they come in the package, which is right side up, they basically will look upside down when I demold it. I actually will take my pack of dried flowers and I'll just flip it. And then that way I won't get confused, I won't mess it up. We'll start laying them, and to be honest, this really is a preference. This is how you want your jewelry tray to look. Also remember that you're laying backwards, so whatever flower you want to see on top, you're going to lay that first, and then you're gonna lay your background flowers on top of that. So you kind of stack backwards and really just work with that design. I got us some handy tweezers because I am notorious for using my fingers and then getting epoxy on my fingertips, and then I'm a hot mess. So tweezers are helpful. Woodworking and resin absolutely started out as a hobby and a way to de-stress myself and to really just enjoy what I was doing and just a creative outlet. Ironically, I started sharing my journey with other members of the community, and thus was born Makers Challenge Central, which is an online community that just challenges people and encourages people to really build outside the box. It has exponentially grown into a livelihood and into being one of the largest woodworking challenges on social media. It didn't start out that way, but it grew into something amazing completely on accident. My favorite thing is when I get like these skinny kind of flowers, I will put them right inside because that is just so cool to me when you see it like right along the edges. Hers was a little bit deeper, so her flowers are a little bit more covered. Mine aren't as covered. It doesn't matter though, because the next pour that we do, it is going to get covered. We're gonna let this cure till it's at least tacky and ready for us to be able to pour another layer over it and not have it mixed together. So we'll hit that step as soon as this cures. We've let about an hour pass so that it's not completely cured. You'll see that like it does still have like a little bit of movement, but also the dried flowers are not going anywhere. We're gonna add some colors and some glitters, and really you can do anything that you want. So we've pre-mixed our tabletop right here, and we're gonna go ahead and add some colorants and some glitters to that, and then we'll get pouring. When you're using an alcohol ink, what's awesome is that you can start with one drop, and if you don't like it, you can keep adding drops. One thing to remember is you can never take color away. We definitely recommend just testing something in a medicine cup so that you know what that's gonna look like when it cures. When we pour it, we are gonna add some heat to this to dissipate those bubbles as well. So I've added 2 drops of Baja Blue. What are you gonna start with?
I'm just gonna start with 1 and see how it goes.
If you pour too much glitter, it does tend to just sink to the bottom, and if you pour too little glitter, it will just float to the top. Again, if you're really not sure, test it in a medicine cup first. Never assume that the color of the cup that's in this is actually going to be the color that you pour. As I'm stirring, I'll lift my stick, and that's really gonna be what the color actually is gonna look like. So as you're pulling it up, if you don't like that color, add a little bit more until you really like it. For me, I don't like that I can see this much of the popsicle stick, so I'm gonna add a little bit more. Okay, so when you kind of have it that color and that consistency that you want, you're just gonna kind of pour it until you have filled it to the top of your tray. I pre-mixed this, I was very careful and stirred around the edges of my cup. And because I did that, I can go ahead and scrape around the edges of my cup again. Only scrape your cup if you have done it from start to finish. That white glitter is, look at that. It's almost like a rainbow glittery color. So as you see, like I already do have some bubbles that are rising to the top. You can like give that a minute. Sometimes I do get a little antsy. Again, do not stay over the edges of your mold for too long. You do not want the edges of your mold to fuse to your resin. It does happen. It's not fun. What we're gonna do is wait about 5-10 minutes, hit it one more time with our heat, and then we're gonna let this cure, and we're gonna demold and show you the last step. It's almost impossible to mess up epoxy, and even when you do, there's so many fixes with it. It's a pretty friendly product. It's just intimidating, but if you try it, it's actually really friendly. So these have had the opportunity to cure overnight. When I pick it up, you can see like we've got a really hard consistency, which means it is safe to demold.
Yours looks good. I love it.
Yeah, I think we've got a nice little tray there. What about you?
I don't know.
I might like yours better than mine.
They're just
That's
different.
Stunning. Look at that. The awesome thing is that you went with white, I went with blue, and yet there's so many other colors in there aside from that. And when you turn it sideways, you can see what we were talking about, where we did that first pour in clear and then that second pour in color. We picked up these stickers. They are resin foil stickers. We're gonna add this to our piece. So you're gonna place your sticker and just with your finger really smooth it. Now try to touch it as little as possible, maybe use a popsicle stick. If you were just to leave it and you did this, you actually could see your fingerprints. We are going to take an extra step, and this is gonna add dimension, and it's gonna just seal that in so that you can't even tell it's a sticker.
So we pre-made about, 25 milliliters of tabletop, but this is just a very, very thin, shallow surface coat. So pour as thin as you need, and it's really gonna just make sure that all these lines that you see between your sticker and your tray just totally disappear. And it does give it that protective coat as well.
This one I tend to do a little bit slower. You're just wanting to cover that sticker and give it that even coating throughout. This is where your heat gun comes in handy. By heating it up, it's gonna spread, level itself out, and do the work for me. Nice. All right, so we have finished our last step. It actually takes 24 hours for it to fully cure, and even like sometimes they say 3 days after that before you start to actually use it, because you really want to make sure you have that full cure before you abuse resin's durability. You guys are ready to make your resin jewelry tray, and we are gonna have everything that you need, links to everything on our website at promiseepoxy.com. Tori, this was so fun hanging out with you at the facility today.
I loved it.
Let's do it again. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.